So I'm here with Derek Mahony. Derek Mahony is I'd say, Derek, you're one of the most famous non-mainstream orthodontists in Australia. Yeah. Now, you did your training in the UK, so you are a qualified orthodontist.
That's right.
And you've had a lot of flack because not only are you non-mainstream, you're not just following the traditional method of orthodontics, but you're teaching it. And you're teaching it to non-orthodontists, to dentists. It's given you, I think you've had slightly undue flack for that.
Well, I always learnt from what Robert Ricketts taught me, and he said, I don't care if the cleaner wants to come to my lecture, if he learns something that helps the general public at large, why not? And I've always held the view that I was lucky to do a postgraduate education, but that doesn't mean that we as a profession are the font of all knowledge, and I have very good general dentists who do amazing orthodontics. And in a country like Australia with a huge population spread over a vast area, not everyone can get to a specialist orthodontist.
Yeah.
So I really am passionate in that everyone who wants to learn has a right to learn.
Yeah, I think, that one of my themes that I've addressed constantly is we're coming into this era where a lot of people consider knowledge to be free now. I mean, a lot of kids are not happy to pay for music even, which we considered a standard.
Yeah.
Kids now don't want to pay for music. We're getting this era where a lot of people consider knowledge to be free.
Yeah.
And this is conflicting slightly with the old instinct of this is mine.
Yeah.
If you want to hear it, you're going to have to pay for it. And groups of people wanting to set up walls such as qualifications so that other people can't get into this. And I'm I'm anti this, and I know you are as well.
Well, I think you're talking in general terms about what we would call the old boys club, right?
yeah, without question, it's the old boys club, and I think both of us stand against just having freedom, it's a choice, and more people, learning it should be for everyone.
Yes.
Cool. Now, I was very impressed with the recent work you've been doing, and some of the statistics you were given today. It was amazing to me. It was. Do you want to vaguely cover a little bit of this?
Yeah. So over the last 15 years, I've been collecting data on patients referred to me for orthodontic care. We limited our research protocols to children between age 7 and 9 who had been referred in purely for treatment of malocclusion by a dentist, by a medical doctor, by an ear, nose and throat doctor, by word of mouth, whatever way they came to the practice.
Yeah.
But one thing I did differently is I asked all these patients to have a sleep study, and I looked at the correlation between those who had a malocclusion and those who had what's called sleep disordered breathing problems. And I thought, based on previous research I've read, which they really only gave a patient a sleep questionnaire rather than an actual sleep study, and they showed sort of 17% to maybe 30% of children who had a malocclusion had sleep disordered breathing problems. In our data, which is a huge sample, we were showing 92%. And that's because we measured not just the apneic events or the hypopneic events, we also measured the resistance, so the RDI. And that picked up a lot of kids who may not have apnea in the way it's defined, but certainly had problems breathing because they had nasal problems, etc.
Clearly, my concern with sleep apnea, it's a constructed definition.
Correct.
So many of those, times by that, add on one of those and we've got our product. And that doesn't fit everyone.
Absolutely. And even Christian Gumner, who is the father of sleep medicine and who developed this AHI, he says don't treat to the numbers, look at the individual. And he's very passionate at Stanford in looking at the muscles and the posture of the tongue as methods to help limit collapse of the airway at night.
No, I've met him several times. And where do you see yourself going now with this? Where's the goal with this PhD? You've clearly got a passion about this, and I think that breathing and breathing issues have added a new dimension to what we've always been talking about.
Absolutely. I think I would like our profession, the orthodontics, to realise that we're losing our profession to technology. I mean, nowadays patients can make their own aligners, as you well know.
Well, yeah,
right?
I mean,
so if a patient views an orthodontist purely as a tooth straightener, I mean, we're not in the marketplace. Every general dentist does Invisalign, etc., etc. But I think where our profession should be going is looking at the correlation between children's sleep and their malocclusion. And as we know, we've debated this many times, and your father has been at the forefront of linking malocclusion to epigenetic problems rather than genetic problems. And
environmental
and postural. And to me, let's add airway to that.
Yeah, well, it's an important, I've been talking about this concept, or trying to link it together with this concept of craniofacial dystrophy.
Yes,
it's saying that it's a global structural change with the face, and the airway is one of the other symptoms. So we list out the symptoms, many ENT problems, many airway problems, and of course crooked teeth. But we need to come out of this sort of limited viewpoint to see the greater.
Yes.
They'll see the whole.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think when I show a parent a CBCT that shows the three-dimensional airway, show them how narrow their child's airway is, and I show a repeat CBCT after I finish my orthopedic correction, and they see not just a better-looking face and more room for the teeth, but what they really see is a change in that child's behaviour. They're performing better at school, they're sleeping better. And many parents say to me, Dr. Mahony, thank you, my kid's teeth look amazing, but thank you more so for giving me back a new child. And I think that's powerful. When you talk to a parent about airway problems and sleep in their children, it's always more, they understand that more than they understand at what age should we straighten our child's teeth.
Yes,
right.
Yes, yeah, no, moving out. And I think that it's, important to get this knowledge and information out to people as well, because at the moment it's a shame that many parents of children with sleep issues have no idea about what we're saying.
Exactly. And I think we as orthodontists are the prime people to pick up things in the mouth that are indicative of sleep disordered breathing. The narrow palate, the crossbite, the bruxism, the large tonsils,
all other symptoms of craniofacial dystrophy.
Yes.
And the underlying problems. So if someone's got these issues, they probably have the other issues.
Exactly. And I think when I graduated from orthodontic school, we looked at just the teeth. And in fact, our job was to get everything into angles, class 1, 6 keys. And what I realize now, you can do that and bring that back here in the face, and that's not good for the child.
Yes, interesting. We want to talk to you about your concept of class 4 malocclusion, but let's talk about that separately. I think, as far as mine, I know yourself, is now getting this message out there. You've got to publish this research. I think by the time we put this out, you will have published this research. And we need to popularise it. We need people to know what you have found, because it's another piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And it all fits together very, very nicely.
And I think one thing that I'd like the orthodontists to pick up from this study is when they take a lateral ceph, if they're even not going to do a CBCT, measure hyoid bone position. Look at position of maxilla. I think we've got to get away from this SNA being 82 degrees concept, really.
Yes.
We've got to understand that the position of the maxilla is the most important thing when it comes to the child's airway. And why are all these children that I've been seeing with malocclusions have undeveloped arches and retrognathic maxillas, mandibles? It's because of their breathing. And, we see
it's because of this change in structural form.
Yeah.
And it's a global change in structural form.
Yeah.
People almost don't want to believe that their whole facial form isn't correct. There's a huge resistance to this. And I think that when this happens, this psychological change in the mind, well, I often say this is of only interest to people who have a face. All the people without faces, they're not interested in this. No, I'm interested in hearing what we're saying. But it's going to be when everyone on the planet clocks the way their facial form is, that who they think they are, that image on their passport. When they clock, that may not be how their full genetic potential.
Correct.
When people recognise that, then I think changes. Then we've gone over the point of maximum resistance, and it will be everyone the people want to hear this.
Yeah.
And it's in their interest to hear this.
Absolutely.
You know, it's health, it's appearance, and I think I would even go to far, you know, as you were talking about education, and I think it's probably even longevity.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I went to a lecture a while ago and I said that in the States, I said in my lecture I thought that 10% of people in America over the age of 60 years old were going to die 10 years early because of sleep apnea and its consequences.
Yes, and that's been
Well, do you know the response I got to a T when I was talking, you know, after meeting, coffee and chatting? Everyone said to me, Mike, I think you're being a bit conservative there.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
You know, and that's now. Now, when you go back to those guys who are now 60, I don't think malocclusion was as high then. So, if malocclusion's far worse now, what's the predictor of what's going to happen?
And if you link that on what is the cost on the health budget of misdiagnosed and untreated OSA?
Well, sleep apnea it's so permeating. You know, they often say that if you could sell quality sleep as a pill, it would be the biggest selling drug on the planet.
Absolutely.
The quality sleep, not the sort of stuff you can get with sleeping pills.
Correct.
But, you know, we're talking about, you know, it's a concept where, you know, obesity, you know, do obese people become sleep apneic? Or if you're sleep apneic, do you crave the types of food that make you obese?
Well, there's lots of research to link the hormonal changes associated with poor sleep, not getting into stage 3 non-rapid eye movement, deep sleep. You're right, the body's natural appetite suppressant, right, is not released when you have poor sleep. So I think it is that scenario, this vicious cycle where people are not sleeping well, they're eating more, and then as they're eating more, their obesity is contributing to their apnea. I know the latest research would say if you can reduce your BMI by 10%, you can reduce your AHI by a third. That's huge.
They're huge.
You know? And yet, what's the two things we're seeing more in modern society? More malocclusion, more obesity, more OSA.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang.
Bang, 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 bang. And we're not totally certain which is following which.
Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
It's still a grey area, which we need more research, and to get more research, we need more publicity. And this is not even talking about the relationship with diabetes,
Yes.
and it's not even talking about the relationship with cardiovascular issues.
Absolutely.
You know, that's leaving those aside.
Yeah.
And then clearly with the concept with ADH may be leading to sleep apnea. ADHD may be related to sleep apnea.
Yes.
So, you know, this is a huge topic that just needs some examination.
Absolutely.
And at the moment, it seems all of the different specialities involved in this are sitting on the side and saying, it's just the way it is. It's just genetic.
Well, I'd have to disagree with that. Because,
I know you would.
If it was just genetic, then really we're all doomed, aren't we?
Yes. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
No. I firmly believe, and I've been doing this for 30 years in my practice, that if you can change a kid's airway by arch development, by maxillary protraction, by whatever, you're definitely seeing an improvement in that child's sleep, their performance at school, you know, and better looking faces, which is what we've discussed years ago.
Yes, and I mean, this has been Dad's mission for so long, and that's another story. But listen, Derek, thank you very much on that.